How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hungry.
Always be hungry.
How's it been lately?
So I did Johnny. I made a sheet.
Awesome.
Want to see it?
I would, yeah.
So he's got three. He's got 3 columns. So this is just You told me Johnny was 35. I made up a weight for him and a height. His goal weight is gonna be 175 with 10% body fat. He said he was single. I put lonely with roommates. Goal is to acquire female companionship, and prerequisites is basic knowledge of workouts and running. And then his training program.
It's a good market.
Just wash my hands.
You train single guys and teach about dealing with women.
Right?
Huge market. Huge market.
And then training program, he's gonna have push-pull legs. So he's gonna start out with bench press, and then all of these are gonna be hypertrophy. Second day, bent over rows with hypertrophy mixed in, and then barbell back squats. 3 days of that is gonna be weightlifting, and then cardio warm up. And then on his off days, he's gonna have 2 off days that he's gonna just run since he likes running. And then on his rest days, he can do yoga and stretching.
This is like 1,000 times better. This looks amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's much more. You got the balance right between like how many compounds, accessories, supplemental, days per week, all that stuff. So that's way better.
Perfect.
Love it.
You can smack it.
Sorry, Asa.
Oh,
I thought you had a client coming.
no worries. I should, but it's not here, so I'm just gonna wait a few minutes. Send him a text if they still don't show up.
Cool. All right. So today I figured we'd go over biomechanics for the big 3 for squat, bench, and deadlift. Because I feel like just in terms of being successful as a trainer, I think like the foundation relies around squat, bench, and deadlift because it's every movement somehow relates to it. Any functional movement, anything that someone's going to do, right? So, first, what I'd like to do is, who would like to teach me how to squat? All right, come on up here.
So how I typically do it is I'll just ask you to just do a quick couple of body weight squats just so I can see what you got going on.
Okay.
Right.
Because this is what all clients do.
There's no like so. Just go ahead and stay still.
What do you mean?
Alright, go ahead and pause, turn 90 degrees for you, face that way, and go ahead and do another.
No, seriously, you have to tell them because they will keep looking at you,
Yeah.
and you need to look at them on the side.
I'll follow you
I
around.
swear, like I don't understand it, but
Good. Okay, pause. So, have you ever heard about bracing? Has anyone taught you or any experience with bracing at all?
no.
No. Okay, so it's basically a diaphragmatic breath, right, to create internal pressure to keep your torso and your torso stable, right? So what we're gonna do is we want to breathe deep into our belly, and we want to sort of feel like we're filling up our stomach as if a cup is filled with water, right, from the bottom up. So go ahead and put your hand on your stomach, and as you breathe in, I want you to feel yourself pushing your hands out as much as you can. Did you feel your stomach go out? Good. So as you take that breath, at the top of that breath, I want you to brace your core as if someone was. Remember how when you were younger, like a cousin or a brother would like try to punch you in the stomach? You know that feeling how when you would brace for that impact? That's what we want to feel. So as you take that breath, at the top of that breath, I want you to bear down on that. Good. Now, do you feel how across your torso everything is tight? Right? Do you feel that intra-abdominal pressure? Good. So before we take any movement into that squat, we want to make sure that we brace hard. Right? So take that nice deep breath. Bear down on it. I want you to go ahead and sink those hips right between your heels. Good. Do you feel a lot more stable you were? So did you notice how before you started bracing and to after, before your knees were moving around, your hips were moving around, now that you have that nice tight brace and your core is stable, you're able to go down, up and down within your hips and and not be as mobile, right? So the second thing is just I want to make sure that we're tracking. So go ahead and face me. Go ahead and take that nice big brace, and as we go down, we want to make sure our knees are tracking to where our toes are pointing. Right? Good. Come back up. Good. Go again. Do we take our brace?
Nope.
No. We're gonna take the brace every time. Good. Good. Relax. Go ahead and check 90 degrees, and we'll do that again. Nice big brace. Good. Good. Relax. So one thing that I like to see is that you're naturally keeping your chin tucked. A lot of people will really arch their chin up and look up at the ceiling as they go down. What that does is it breaks the neutral of your spine, right? So like you're doing, what I like to say is hold a tennis ball between your chin and your chest throughout the whole movement, and that keeps that spine in line, right? Your neck is involved in that spine. It doesn't just stop at your shoulders, right? So even though your back is straight, even though your back is straight and your head's up, you're breaking that neutrality, right? So keep that chin tucked, just like you were doing throughout the whole movement. That way the spine stays straight from your tailbone all the way to the base of your skull. Cool.
Thank you. That was awesome. Any questions on any of that? That was really good, by the way.
Should
You notice how much time you spent on little things. They're very important. Go ahead.
shouldn't he be encouraging, like when you held your breath per, like you did 2 in a row and you kept holding your breath, shouldn't we be encouraging breathing out on the up movement, on the pushing?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Like I'll even train people to hold it for more reps sometimes.
And why is that?
Better abdominal pressure. It
It
essentially makes
forces
the,
you to learn to hold it too.
yeah, like okay, so if you heard of the Valsalva technique,
No.
so when people are sprinting, right, and this is like world class sprinters, when they sprint, they're not just like this. They go.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is you take more oxygen and it just allows you to get more oxygen to the muscles. And so it essentially makes you more effective at whatever performance thing you're doing. Now, you wouldn't want to do that for the heaviest set you've ever done for 10 reps. You're going to pass out.
Yeah.
Right? But you absolutely can do it for a couple of reps.
Okay, so
And
it's based on kind of like judgment and just knowing like, okay, I have this person.
if they're a beginner and they're doing it and they don't know they're doing it, probably tell them not to do it.
Yeah.
But he's not incorrect because
Breathe.
Don't let him go blue.
Yeah, because like I noticed a lot of like Sally, for example, I have to remind her to breathe because she forgets. She holds her breath for like basic exercises. I'm like, okay, you gotta breathe. Like remember, breathe. But
she's probably also not bracing very well in terms of like creating that if you're creating it and you're taking a lot of oxygen in, it's okay.
mm-hmm.
But if you're just like
Yeah,
Like-
like a chest breath.
yeah, then
Yeah.
you're not doing what you need to be doing. So that's kind of more of what I would look at.
Okay.
Another good way to describe it to them is at least what I tell them is the sandwich. So grab right here because you're not just breathing forward; you're breathing all the way around to your diaphragm, right?
Mhm.
So if you hold here and you tell them to breathe, you want to kind of expand all the way around. You essentially want to create pressure throughout your entire diaphragm.
Yeah. I feel like kids who've played instruments or people who have played instruments have a good they have better understanding of what the diaphragmatic breath is. So that's what I tend to ask. Have you ever played an instrument before?
So, I'm still on this, right? Breathing. We talked about neutral spine. Spine. Tracking. Toes? Tracking
Knees, yeah, knees in the path of the toes.
knees.
Or knee path.
In line. Feet. What else? Is there anything else you talked about?
A lot of what I talked about would just tie into each other. Diaphragmatic breath, the tucking the chin, be neutral spine.
Anything else that might come up, right? Because obviously I didn't create a lot of faults when I was doing it,
Mhm.
but if we did have normal clients, there's going to be some faults that they make. what kind of faults are we going to come across, and what might we need to discuss.
Be going up on the balls of the feet too much, being too far forward.
So would that would be like weight distribution?
Right. And that would just be teaching 3 points of contact, big toe, little toe, heel. Or the opposite of being on the heels.
Also like
Imbalances?
are you talking about like another one?
Yeah.
Sorry, one second, I just have a train of thought. This will also be force, like where to apply force. Like for example, if somebody's pushing through their heels, they're not going to be able to recruit as much force as if you're pushing through the middle of your foot. Imbalances. Give me an example.
Like one leg is stronger than the other, and they're wobbly, or not wobbly, but like they're driving through one leg more than the other, and then it's causing them like joint pain or just
Or like a hip shift.
like hip shift.
So the real question is why is it happening? Because a lot of times it has nothing to do with one leg or the other. So that's why I hesitate to put that down, because it generally gets corrected if you fix another fault.
Okay.
So what other faults could be happening that might be causing the discrepancy? You can jump in if you want.
I'm not sure for hip shifting.
Oh no! What other imbalances?
Oh,
Just for squat.
Well, we can talk about bar placement. Lat activation.
Pronation of feet.
Foot placement. And now, I'm not putting anything specific on foot placement or bar placement because it's going to be different for different people, right? Like, some people are very comfortable with a wide, because their hips are just like, everyone's hips are a lot of different shapes for a lot of people. So some people might be very comfortable here, whereas some people might be like right here, and this is where they're best, biomechanically suited. So that's why I don't put anything specific, but that's something you have to look at, because at foot placement, a lot of times you have to look at how their hips are doing to know how to put their feet, right? So, like for example, if they're doing, there's some like typical faults, right, that people will generally talk about, like butt link, like rounded back, valgus knees, which all that means is knees are coming in like this, right? So these are some of the things that people will talk about. Now, a lot of times you can have a fault that is like, okay, I know what that fault is, but the real question is not what it is, but how do you fix it? Like what do we do if someone has a butt link? What do we do if someone has a rounded back? And these are sort of like the checklist, right? Is like, are they doing the diaphragmatic breathing? Is their spine neutral? Are their knees tracking in line with their feet? How's their weight distribution? Where's the bar placement? Are they activating their lats, right? Like you check these things off one by one in your head, and then when you find one, okay, this one needs to be worked on, you work on that. And while it's good to know all these things, and at one point or another, you're going to need every single one of these things, like you're gonna need to work on this with somebody, you only need to work on one at a time, with most clients. Like you don't wanna just come in and be like, oh, we're gonna fix all this right now, and like, we have to do this. But it's good to know them all. So I think that's pretty good. Does anyone want to, take a picture or anything like that? It'd be good just to have for reference.
Yeah.
feel like the diaphragmatic breathing and like bracing fixes a lot of things.
It does, and that's why you did it first, which is like with new clients, it's one of the first things I go over when they start loading on squats. When they're doing body weight, I sometimes think it's silly, so I don't always do it. But once they start putting weight and they need to have a braced core, then I'll do more of that.
Well, I think even sometimes for me, like doing a bodyweight squat while braced feels easier than not.
It does. I mean, for me, it depends on the type of client. Like if I have a client who's just like super skinny and they're doing it, I just need them to squat and their legs need to get some fatigue so I can start putting some weight in there.
Yeah.
For a super heavy client, they might not even be able to do bodyweight squats. So it's just like, it all depends on, where we're starting. And also sometimes I don't like to complicate things with brand new clients if they're super, super beginner. Like a lot of times I'm so busy working on the like mental stuff for their transformation that I'm like, just move. Like just keep moving and I'm just gonna talk to you. Because it's almost like you're like reprogramming their thought processes. All right, let's go to bench press. All right, Kylie, you want to teach me on the bench?
Sure.
All right,
Want me to
let's
grab
go.
bench?
Let's go out to this bench, might as well.
Sure.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so first what I want you to do is just come underneath the bar, and I want you to get comfortable. Just feel where so make sure you're activating your lats back here. Get your feet firmly placed on the ground. What you're gonna do is you're gonna come here and put your thumb here, hold onto the bar. I just want you to get comfortable holding, getting all the way down to your chest and pushing through.
We're saying you can't bench the bar.
Oh,
It might be a struggle.
if I try really hard, I can.
I'm saying be ready to squat. Like, I don't know.
Oh, like this.
Yeah.
Only 360 on that bench.
And then push through. Good.
That's 300 more than that. Yeah, only got 15 pounds.
Good. And bracket. So what I want you to do is activate in your back. Do you have pressure back here? Are you activating in between your lats?
I think so.
Okay. And you can put a little arch in your back. So you want your butt and your shoulders to be on the bench, but not, you don't have to have your entire back on the bench. You can put a little arch and drive through your feet.
Okay.
Good. I don't know what to do next.
All right.
Is that okay?
Hey, feedback. Let's see. What would you say?
So I think the concepts were there. I would say first, as far as grip on the bar, I would make sure that they grip all the way around it. I wouldn't
Suicide's not for
suicide
beginners.
grip. I've done it before, even as like after I've looked at it a while, and it still sketched me out, and it just doesn't give you as much stability.
And do not trust the client.
Yeah.
Be safe.
So when I teach benching, one of the first things I talk about is feeling like I'm activating my lats by bending the bar,
Okay.
and that's what's going to help keep the tension in the chest as well as keeping tension up here. The same thing as in squat, right? And it's going to go again with deadlift is that brace, right? So before I even have them lift up the bar, I'll have them make sure that they take that full breath, bear down on it, and then bend that bar as they lift the weight up into that position.
Okay.
Right? That's naturally going to get you the arch in the back.
Okay.
Right? Is that
far as the setup on the bench, I would try to get their hips and shoulders as close to each other as possible. So like getting that tension in the back by planting the feet underneath me a little bit more and making sure that I get all the way in. That way, as I push more up, I'm able to drive myself on the bench. That feeling of that leg drive, because a lot of people will think, well, if I use my legs, it's just popping my hips in. Right? And you want to eliminate that right off the bat because you could throw your back that way.
Okay.
So it's just getting that feeling of driving up the bench,
Okay.
right, as far as that leg drive, bless you, and keeping all that.
Yeah, I mean I think one of the most important things for the compound list is how you pitch it to them. Meaning, like, you want to have a sequence down that you already, that you're a master of that sequence, right? You don't want to be saying different things every time because then you're confusing them and they're brand new. Like, this is like learning a foreign language. You're teaching them grammar, you're teaching them vocabulary, you're teaching them how to speak it, you're teaching them all this shit at the same time. So it's like, you want to make sure that you have a very simple, clear way of teaching it. And so what I'll tend to do, kind of like describe it and demonstrate it. But I say the same thing every time. So I'm like, okay, so first and foremost, you're gonna have 3 points of contact, right? Your feet, and this is where all the force is being transferred. Bench press is about transferring force. Feet into the ground, upper back into the bench, hands into the bar. Start with creating force from the ground, pushing through your feet, into your upper back into the bench where you're creating leverage by pushing your upper back into the bench and then applying that force to the bar. Okay? How to actually create that stability in your body is the sequencing. Okay? Once I place my feet in the ground and once I place my hands on the bar, don't move them. That's what I tell them. Don't move them. Now, I teach them to wind up when they set up so they can get into arch because it's hard for people to just arch a lot of times, especially clients. So I have them pull up a little bit and then set themselves so they're arched. See, now I can show them, look at my quad tension. I have a lot of tension in my hips and my quads, so I can apply pressure much easier. So apply pressure, and then I have them lift off, right? Because now I'm arched, so my upper back is already very tense. And then I'm gonna row the bar down to my sternum, press towards my face. Row it down to my sternum, press towards my face. And so that's like my sequencing, that's my spiel every time. And I give them the same thing every time. Because then you're not thinking. Like, you don't want to be thinking about it every time you do it. So I think a good way to practice it, I think this is going to be the homework, write it out.
Okay.
For the squat, bench, and deadlift.
Okay.
Write out your pitch or spiel or whatever you want to call it, your sequencing. That way you can say it the same way every time. And to a point where, like I said, like I don't even have to think about that because I've said it so many times that that's just, it's second nature. Sound good? Okay.
Be shy.
Staying away out of the camera.
What were the biggest takeaways you got from that, Kylie?
Well, one of the things I got out of that is just learning how to that I need a spiel for one, and two, how to describe some of the things that I didn't know how to describe, the 3 points of contact and all of that. I knew about them, I know how to functionally do it, but describing it to somebody, not so much.
Yeah, and that's where going from being like a gym person to a trainer is like just making that transition. It's not that hard, but it has to be a conscious process, right? Like I worked out for so many years and understood things on a practical level, but not on a teaching level.
Right.
And so, yeah, it took me like, being just frustrated with clients on why don't you understand? Okay, cool. Let's go to, what time is it?
It is 4:26.
Oh, okay. How about this? Do you still guys got a few minutes?
Yeah.
Let's say you want to do deadlift.
I can.
Yeah.
One thing that helps me
especially like when I was learning bench, because bench was Michael can attest it. My bench was my weakest when it came to powerlifting. But what helped me as far as like being able to explain it to somebody is as I'm setting up, I'm talking myself through it.
Okay.
Right? What am I doing at this point? Okay, so and I'll say it out loud.
Right.
I got a consult coming in at 4:30. Or should.
Cool. Quick deadlift session real quick.
There you go.
Well, if the console comes in, we can use them. I'll just teach them how to deadlift. You want to do it over here? Or? Yeah. Okay.
You want to teach Andrew how to deadlift? You can lift up.
If you want to get on camera. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Good. So typically, when before I move anyone to like barbell deadlift, they would have already done like kettlebell deadlift. So I would have already explained bracing, right, hip hinging, right, activating the lats. So assuming that we've done kettlebell deadlifts before, right, let me just see 1 or 2 reps of your setup for the deadlift. Cool. So how I always set someone up, right? First off, I'll have to put the bar about mid-foot, right? Because you want the bar to be close to your shins, but not right up on it, right? You will get deadlift through shin, you get a little bit of rawness eventually. I'll also have to stand a little bit closer to you, just a second, about to okay. So as I bend down to get the bar, what I'm doing is I'm hinging my hips back, still keeping that neutral spine, right? Chin slightly tucked. So hinging those hips back until my hands hit my knees. Once my hands are at my knees, then I'll squat down to meet the bar. Right? What that does is it keeps the tension in my posterior chain. If I just reach down to bend to grab the bar, a lot of times clients will just squat to get the bar, right? Which turns it into a quad base. Deadlifts are posterior chain. So, hinge the hips back till I get to my knees, right? Once I get to my knees, I'll squat to get the bar. And as you can see on the side, his hips are slightly higher. They're not quite in a 90-degree squat, right? Do you feel the tension in your hamstrings and your glutes? Yeah. So from here, same as in bench, I want you to feel like you're bending the bar around your legs. That's going to engage your legs. You feel that? Good. So as soon as we start lifting, what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you're pulling the slack up out of the bar, right? Once you feel the slack is out, as soon as you start lifting that bar, to squeeze in the hips to the bar, right? So a lot of times people will go here, hips up first, and they'll use the lower back to finish off the movement. But as soon as we start lifting, we want to start engaging those hamstrings.
Yeah.
Biggest thing for me,
It's my worst lift.
is it?
I don't even deadlift.
I'm built for deadlift. It's also one of my technically my worst lifts. I have a 6'4" wingspan. I'm 5'9", right? So I have a really hard time blocking out. For me,
It started for me. It's off the ground. All my lower back.
yeah.
I have a hard time knocking that.
It might
Using my hamstrings and my butt more.
you don't feel it usually.
No,
You feel that one?
I did.
There you go. Oh yeah, look at that. We're winning. Everyone's winning today. Right? So the start and the setup is really crucial. That hip hinge is like the biggest thing, right? A lot of times, I don't know how you normally set up, but a lot of times people just go down to meet the bar, and then they'll start lifting it, but not the proper muscles aren't engaged, right? You're most likely in your quads, which isn't bad for like some training exercises. However, when you're actually doing a lift for like competition or just deadlift technique in general, you want to make sure that those hips are hinging back to activate that posterior. Because that's where all that power comes from, your hips and your glutes. Right? As soon as that bar starts coming up off the ground,
you're shoving those hips to the bar and you're squeezing those glutes all the way forward as soon as you can. You don't want, as soon as you, if you wait to push those hips forward and engage those glutes close to your chain, you're loading up. Because now you're using those quads to go up here first, and then you're squeezing up this way, as opposed to letting, like I always use my arms, right, from this is the bottom position. You want your body to kind of move up that way, as opposed to where a lot of people do is this. Okay? And that's where you start feeling up here.
Yeah.
That's where you start feeling in that lower back. Is because now your lower back is taking the brunt of that stress. Whereas your glutes and your hamstrings and those lats, packing those lats down. I would like to say, like hold the playing card between your armpits. Right? Is squeezing those armpits back. That's what's going to keep those lats engaged up the whole time. And that's going to help you lock down. I've been told. If you ask Michael and my best friend Cody, what's Charles' weakness in deadlifts? Without hesitation, lock it. Because even in my last competition, I can show you a video. They gave me all white lights, but I had pretty soft knees. Actually, I don't think I should have gotten it. I'll tell myself like that may have been a no lift, but I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Cool.